Welcome to Passport to Everywhere with Indagare's Melissa Biggs-Bradley.
Melissa is the founder and CEO of Indagare, a travel and media company committed to inspiring and empowering people to change their lives and the world through travel, while having a positive impact on the places they visit. On the show, Melissa will transport you to dream destinations, share the latest travel news and trends, and introduce you to the most extraordinary people she has met on the road.
Everything that is buyable has been bought, but what you can't buy is how you feel. And so I think, I always say we're in the business of giving emotions. And I think that's what we really do, is give emotions.
Follow her behind the scenes to the world's most legendary hotels and join us as she explores the future of travel.
The Il Pellicano Hotel has been one of the world's most iconic properties for more than 50 years. It captures Italy's creative spirit and the mythical beauty of its seaside. Legend has it that a pair of lovers, an American socialite and a British pilot, created their dream romantic home in a secret cove on Italy's Tuscan coast near Porto Ercole. The home quickly became a hotspot for Hollywood stars, European aristocrats, and famous artists and designers who came to stay. Everybody who was anybody, from the Queen of the Netherlands to Charlie Chaplin and more, in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, was eager to visit the stunning seaside property and party with the moonlight playing on the Mediterranean below. It was love at first sight for entrepreneur Roberto Sciò, who was on a sailing trip with friends when he discovered the tiny seaside Tuscan hotel. After one night of magic, he knew he'd be returning again and again. And in 1979, he purchased the property from Michael Graham. Today, Roberto's daughter, Marie-Louise, is CEO and creative director of the Pellicano Hotel Group, which includes not only Il Pellicano, but two other legendary Italian seaside properties, Mezzatorre and La Posta Vecchia. Trained in fine art and architecture at the Rhode Island School of Design, Marie-Louise brings her intuitive, effortless Italian vision to each property. She's also expanded the brand with the lifestyle site ISSIMO, which is a digital extension of the hotel group. I'm thrilled to have both father and daughter with me today to talk about the history and the future of this very special La Dolce Vita brand.
Join Melissa on the journey. You're listening to Passport to Everywhere. Here's your host, Melissa Biggs-Bradley.
It's wonderful to see you both.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you both. It's so exciting. So let's start, Roberto, to sort of the beginning and what it was that made you fall in love with Il Pellicano and how you sort of your journey with hotels began.
I must say the journey, life is always some event that happened during your journey, and happened to me to go to visit a dear friend of mine who sailed from Canada to Argentario, where is the Pellicano, and he asked me to go to visit him. And so the first time I went that part of the world, he asked me to sleep on board, and I said, I would prefer rather to go in a little town, in a little place, a little hotel, and I come back tomorrow, so we go sailing around. And so he indicated to go to see my friend Michael. And there is an hotel called Il Pellicano. So I drove to Il Pellicano, and when I did arrive, I didn't recognize it was an hotel because there was no sign, nothing, only the direction. We arrived to Pellicano, but it looks like a house. And the first person who I met there in the entrance was Charlie Chaplin. So I was doubly surprised. I said, but this little place, there is Charlie Chaplin here, maybe I'm wrong, something. But I entered, and that was my very first time I went to Pellicano, and the first night that I slept there. And when I wake up in the morning, I start to watch around, and I fall in love with the spot. So I became a client. I was a young client at that time. I'm talking the late 60s, if you can imagine. The Pellicano was opened up just 3-4 years before. And I used to go there as a client. One of, I must say, the privilege to be there, because at that time, Pellicano was 18 rooms, 4 villas, and 9 rooms for the drivers. The Italian quarter, so was called by Michael, was 4 rooms. And when those 4 rooms booked by Italians, the hotel could be even empty. He was always saying, frightfully sorry, the Italian quarter is fully booked. That's it. So you can imagine, let's say it was a kind of club, an exclusive club, more than an hotel. Queen Juliana, to give you an idea, was their house was close to Il Pellicano. She used to have her guests there. So we have the possibility to see Queen Juliana around there, Prince Bernard, and this kind of people around. And that was really a special, special, special time. With the time passed by, I deserted Il Pellicano for 2-3 years because they didn't have their golf club around them and passionate golf. And when I went back, I did ask to Michael if I could see the house that was where I was living, Charlie Chaplin. So Michael said, yes, why not? And he showed me the place. And my God, to me, another coup de foudre. I see this beautiful place, the view fantastic. And I said to myself, oh my God, how much I would love to have this little spot here. Fantastic. That's it. The angel came through and gave the benediction because 4 days later, my lawyer, that was also the lawyer with Pellicano, asked me if I want to invest money in the Pellicano. And I said, you got to be crazy. What I have to do with, sorry that I closed this, what I have to do with Pellicano is an hotel. No, but they are selling one of the villas. I didn't say a word. I say, they are selling one of those? Yes, let's go to see it. So we went to see, it was that place. So this was in the 1974. So 30 days later, I owned the place, that house. So I start to keep going there with the family at that time. And then Michael asking me if I could help him in the management. I said, Michael, I'm an hotelier. I don't know damn thing about hotels. And he said, but you are an entrepreneur, successful, you should know. Well, I said, Michael, I can give around a look, but really, I think you should get some expert. But to cut a long story short, after a week watching carefully how I was behaving, I said, Michael, what do you want? That I'm kind or truthful? I said, be truthful. What do you have to tell me? I said, Michael, I feel that you dream me to be still in India, but you are in Tuscany. What do you mean? I said, Michael, I think you are frightfully arrogant with people, with the people working here. You got to relax a little bit. He couldn't speak a word of Italian, so when he couldn't understand, he was getting nervous and so on. But he was a fine, super gentleman. He was a hero of the Second World War, was a fantastic couple, fantastic friends. So, but after 3 years that I bought that house, he asked me if I could help him to sell it because Patsy, his wife, was sick and he wanted to sell the hotel. I tried to help him, but nobody wants the Pellicano. But at night, I had a light of nightmare night. I said, my God, who's going to buy this paradise? They destroy my dream here. I'm so happy here. I'm going to buy it. And so I went to Michael and I said, Michael, good news for you. What? I found a buyer. Who is he? Me. God, he was thinking that I was joking. And I said, but I'm not joking. He said, don't pull my legs, please. I need to sell it. I said, Michael, if you want, I know the price you're looking for. I'm ready to buy. You mean it? I mean it. We shake hands. And so the Pellicano in 1979 became my property. So they said that I started to be an hotelier at that time. just investing money, but I was busy in other matters. So Pellicano was always my dream, always investing money to making better, to enlarge, to renew. And then in 1994, when again my life has to change. And I was asking myself, but what do you want to do when you grow up? I think I was grow up enough at that time. I said, but you own these 2 hotels? Because at that time I already bought also the Posta Vecchia. And I said that you could care closely because it's always good business, in the sense a good thing, with the age coming through, the time passing by. Always you have somebody who care about you if you're desperate, somebody have a bed, a roof, and so on. And so I said, well, this is a good idea. I think that I should dedicate more time. But then I did ask myself if I was capable really to run hotels. And I said, but really not, because I've been running different companies, but no, even if I was the owner, the hotel was run by managers that they receiving my input, but by them. To cut a long story short, I went back to school. I went to Cornell. In Cornell, I spent a couple of the coldest period of my life. That was frozen. They were really terrible. I can't forget the day I said, let's take a walk. I went out. I said, how come I can't breathe? My God, I said, I can breathe. I can breathe. It was 25 below zero. Centigrade. It was unbelievable, unbearable. But they really opened my mind. They gave me so much. I had such a great memory about that 2 months spent there. And I went back. I fired the manager that was there. I hired another manager. And I was always with the manager. I was much closer, giving a kind of culture that already was my culture, but it was really approved and intensified by the education that I got from Cornell. And let's say we've been for years always growing all the time. I didn't bought all the other villas around, the 4 villas, the other 3 villas left. I bought also the adjacent villa di Marta Marzotto. I enlarged, so we reached to have 50 rooms, and has been a really great success. We've been always happily unsatisfied. Every year that our budget was reached, overtaken, and has been a kind of culture where everyone, from the first to the last, could say something and show his wisdom. I think the wisdom is all over in any kind of people. Something that I can't forget was when we creating the garage of the Pellicano that was created under a tennis court. We have to decide where the certain road should pass. And was an architect, an engineer, a director of work, and myself, all of us thinking to know with the good eyes. But we discussing among the 4 of us, no, should be here, no, should be there, no, there's an olive tree, can be taken this. Oh, the other one, oh, we can move the olive there, we put it the other side. Then a porter carrying luggages to the reception stopped by, and he said his name was Ercole. Ercole was a boy from Sardinia. And he said, sorry, forgive me, but I would like to tell you that I know what you're talking about, but the shortest way to me, when I take the luggage from that cottage, is this one. So we watched ourselves like idiots and said, he's totally right. So you see, from the most humble person, you always have a piece of genius. So if you let people express, they participate. They feel they are part of the venture, feel part of the journey. And the great let's say, you let talent to expose their ideas. They feel part of it. And this is, I think, the great secret of the success of Il Pellicano. Thank God this kind of my feelings and vision has been shared, first of all, by my daughter, that keep going this track, and still for a team now that is so fantastic, where we happily unsatisfied, we carry on.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So Marie-Louise, I'm dying to know how you got involved and if you thought you would always want to do this or if it grew on you. How, I mean, obviously you grew up in the hotel, but did you know you always wanted to work there or?
Absolutely, that never crossed my mind. Never, ever. I studied architecture at RISD, so I was happy doing an architecture and interior design. And I was in New York for a bit, and then I came back to Rome, and it was one summer. I mean, I think I had moved back to Rome at that point, and one summer I came and I, you know, for me it was home. I never looked at it as a work thing. And I said to my dad, I said, I think you need to renovate the Pellicano and, you know, maybe cater to a, you know, in a younger generation, because the clients were the same ones from when he was going and he was the youngest.
Yeah.
So I said, you know, the Pellicano needs to maybe, and he looked at me and said, do it. And I said, what? Are you all right? I can't do it. I said, I can maybe interview some architects, but I can't, you know, I can't. So I interviewed some architects and they all were great in their own right, but they were all going to put their ego on it. And, you know, I thought, listen, I went to architecture school. I'll get it wrong, but I won't get it that wrong because I grew up here and I know the spirit of this place. I know the DNA. So he was very brave for telling me, do it. And then I called Slim Aarons and I said, Slim, because I remember him from when I was a kid. And so I said, Slim, I'd love to talk to you. I'd like to see all your pictures because I want to look through how the Pellicano was. I remember the style, but, you know, I'd love to see some pictures. And he said, oh, you know, I sold my archive to Getty Images. So I went to Getty Images and I found all these boxes and boxes and boxes of pictures of the Pellicano. And I called my dad. I said, we have to make a book. This is amazing, the amount of material there is. And not many hotels have that fortune of having Slim Aarons and John Swope really photograph, you know, 20 years, I think. And so in parallel of doing research through Slim Aarons' work to redecorate it, so it was one winter, me and Antonella, who's a colleague who still works with me, we did it from my apartment. We redesigned the Pellicano. And then started doing the book because it was amazing material. And then, you know, we got to the point that the book was together with John Swope, and who had documented the initial part of the, you know, the building of the hotel, and then Slim Aarons, and it felt a little bit nostalgic. And, you know, I was 25 or 30, I think 25 or something, and in the kind of contemporary culture. And I said, well, maybe, you know, it feels a little nostalgic. No, actually, the editor actually said we should get someone else. And I said, you know, the only photographer I really would like to, who's really contemporary today, is Jürgen Teller. So then for a series of very serendipitous events, Jürgen got on board to the project and kind of brought the book, you know, from 1967 to 2010 or whenever that was, in 2008. And so I think you know, while that was happening, I then started doing all the graphics and looking into all the areas, because it started to feel, you know, it wasn't matching. You had graphics from the 70s and the design was a bit different. So I started pulling everything together, and I guess started being the creative director without really knowing, but I was pulling everything together so there was only one voice, because or else, you know, you'd have the chef who would choose the ceramics, the plates, and then it was the general manager who would choose the uniforms. And so there wasn't really a single voice. And so slowly, I realized that that's what I was doing. And then I love it, you know, and so, you know, I started doing the playlist, like every single little detail, the uniforms and the playlist and the plates and the cutlery and what's in the rooms and kind of really everything, because I got really obsessive about it and really it kind of fell into something that I love doing, which is now, you know, protecting obviously what my father had started, and I have the same sensitivity. So it was really about protecting a world without, like he had, protected it from the sale, and I wanted to protect it. I wanted to create a dialogue between the past and also the future, because you can't be just nostalgic about the past. And it's today it's what I really love doing a lot. It's what makes me really excited to wake up in the morning, among other things. But I really enjoy doing hotels and creating these worlds. I think what we have as hoteliers, we are very fortunate and also I think we have a big responsibility, because what we get from people is their most valuable asset, which is the time. So how they're spending their time is really important. And so you want to make sure that in that time they're well cared of. We all want one thing. We all want to be seen, right? No matter, and taken care of and loved. And so that's what we try to do in our hotels, is by really curating every single contact point, every single touch point with the client. There's a lot of love, there's a lot of care, and there's a lot of attention. And as much as there's all the various protocols that the staff have, to be in a certain way, and the rules and regulations, it's really about, as my dad said before, making also people express themselves, because that's, I think, what makes a real difference. Or else everyone, it's robotic. We want to do, our mission here is to protect what has been done, and also to get more hotels and protect those worlds, especially in a world where everything's getting so flat and the same in so many different businesses, and even in the hospitality. I'm sure you know that better than anyone. But to really create these special little places that are unrepeatable, and there's only one of those, and that's kind of the mission. So it really is. It starts from my dad, and I'm very honored and happy to be able to continue this, because I strongly believe that's also the way, I think the future of tourism is going to go, of a certain kind. People want the special thing. I mean, everything that is buyable has been bought, but what you can't buy is how you feel. And so I think, I always say we're in the business of giving emotions. And I think that's what we really do, is give emotions.
Fascinating, though, hearing you in a way, an architect. I mean, you studied architecture, and your father initially was saying, build a place. And what you did through the process of the book was envisioning much more of the story of a place. And, you're creating, in a way, a stage and a way for people to inhabit their lives that is so much more than just the physicality of a place. But very few, I think, unfortunately, as you alluded to, very few hotel companies really start, which, I mean, it's so beautiful that you started with really understanding what is the DNA of Il Pellicano through Slim and through the history, and what could the future look like, thinking about yourself and Jürgen, and saying, that's the DNA of the emotion. It's the DNA of how people felt at that time, what made them feel special, and really going at it first from the storytelling and the construction of the atmosphere more than the construction of the physical. And then you translate that into things, as you said, like the uniform and the plates and all of those things that then evoke that spirit. But you've moved from now being a creative director, and I love the word director and I love the word creative, because in this case, it really applies to what you've done with the project. But now you're also the CEO. So you're thinking not just about the inspiration and the dream, but the reality, and you've expanded and bought Mezzatorre as well. So I'd love to hear about that transition.
Yeah. So just going back to what you were saying before, I think it's so important. It's, when I was saying about the architects that put their ego, right? I mean, I think it's when all the elements were there. I mean, it didn't need anyone's ego on it. There was the story. There's 40 years of history. I mean, you can't just, it's in the walls. And I think our approach to hotels, and it's the same we had in Mezzatorre, is make those walls talk. I don't need to talk, when we don't, it's all there. And I think, it reflects very much how it is in life too. We have it all inside of us, and hotels has it, it's there. So our approach is really kind of, blowing off the dust and making them talk. And so that was the same with Mezzatorre. It was, that was really fast, because we signed it in January, and then we opened in April, I think, or May. I mean, really hardcore 6 months, I think. But it really was, walking and feeling the story, just imagining the story behind it, as well. And Luchino Visconti had the house above it. So this whimsical feeling and fun and fresh, and the younger sister of Pellicano in some way. And that was the approach, really. It was to just kind of just give it its life back, or just, polish it a bit.
How did you find the property?
The property was suggested by my older brother, Harry, who is in the hotel business. And he said, he really insisted. He said to me, you have to go see this place. And I said, well, at the beginning, I didn't want to do another seasonal hotel. And he said it, I think 3 or 4 times. And the 4th time, then he was like, listen, last chance, you have to come see it. And I was like, okay, let's go. And I was like a bit bummed. It was like the 23rd of December, and the waves were really high, and it was cold. I was like, oh, but he was totally right. So we got there, and it was like, it was all boarded up, and it was a bit, like The Shining. But instead, I got there, I could totally see it done. And so that was fabulous.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And actually, you mentioned Harry, and it reminds me that I should ask you both about La Posta Vecchia as well.
Posta Vecchia is doing fabulous. She just got a wonderful makeover. I don't know if you saw pictures, but we managed to bring her back to her kind of original state. So it's great. It's last year we redid all the facades. And, but inside it's obviously stayed all the same, and it looks absolutely great, and it's doing great. We're investing a lot in it. We're doing more things, adding a couple of rooms, and got big plans next couple of years.
This is Passport to Everywhere. We'll be right back after the break.
You're listening to Passport to Everywhere, and I'm your host, Melissa Biggs-Bradley. Today I'm joined by Marie-Louise and Roberto Sciò, the father-daughter duo behind Italy's iconic Il Pellicano Hotel. Keep listening as we dive into ISSIMO, the digital arm of the Pellicano Group, and what it means to define Italian excellence. Plus, stick around for this week's Indagare Insight, where I share some of ISSIMO's exciting collaborations showcasing the country's illustrious artisanship.
Passport to Everywhere with Melissa Biggs-Bradley continues. Listen to new episodes every Thursday on all podcast platforms.
How did you end up, Roberto, with La Posta Vecchia in the first place? Because it was obviously the house of J. Paul Getty and is different from the others.
This is a fantastic occasion. Again, during a party, a friend of mine, a lawyer, I haven't seen since 2-3 months, just walked in after 10 minutes, was running away. And I did ask, my God, what damn you have to do? Can you wait a few minutes more so we can have a chat? I said, what have to do? I'm selling the house of Paul Getty. And then I said, oh my God, the house of Paul Getty? At that time, Paul Getty was, I don't have to tell you who he was. I said, look, I'm just curious. Could I go to see that house? You let me see that house, because never thinking that I could ever buy this house. I was totally intimidated by the name. So to cut a long story short, I went there and I fell in love with this spot. I said, no, I must come back here. I must come back. I want to see more. With more attention. So the only thing was that I should lie, saying, I'm interested, but I was not interested, I thought, never. And to be interested, you have to ask, you got to tell me the price that you're looking for, because I'm interested. I would like to see the house with more attention. And it will give me the inventory or whatever is inside. They did. So I could go back tranquil, a Posta Vecchia, watching piece by piece, watching the inventory and so on. And at a certain moment, my eyes went, besides many other pieces of art that was there, they are still there, on a painting. And that painting was written, attributed to the school of Gaspar van Witel. Happened that I'm a passionate lover of Gaspar van Witel, and I had at home a book on his work. I start to turn the pages one by one, to see if I could see the painting. I found a sketch of the painting with written, this is the sketch that Gaspar van Vittel did of La Posta Vecchia and of the Scalchi Castle. But we don't know if he realized the painting, and if he did, we don't know where the painting is. I almost fainted. I said, no, I need a doctor. I won't know what to do. I said, my God, but I got to go ask an expert. But they said, the expert, wait a minute. If I ask an expert if he discovered treasury, I start to torment myself for a couple of weeks, even 3 weeks, even I think more. I end up, I said, I buy it. I can be wrong. If everything is wrong, I do an international auction with the furniture that is here. I take back the money. But I don't think I can be wrong. So I bought it. So we moved in La Posta Vecchia as a family. We stayed there, and I had the guts to say, let me check now if it's real, this painting, or it's not real. But because I don't want to have an illusion, or say, oh, I was dreaming that it was a real Gaspar van Vittel. But after 2 years, I call one of the expert art dealer of the great masters, and I told him, look, I have two Renaissance tables to check. I said, I'm here in the house, the former house of Jean Paul Goethe. I would like to have your opinion. If immediately said, I'm curious, I come immediately. He came the day after, and he saw the two tables. And then when he was there, he was really shocked about the atmosphere. And he asked me, forgive me, but can you show me the house? Can I see the house? I said, of course. And we passed by in a certain moment in front of the Gaspar van Vittel. And the Castro said, oh my God, a Gaspar van Vittel. I said, of course. I almost faint. Of course. When he ended up, so he did all the tour, he said, look, forgive me if I dare, but I will ask you, would you like to sell it? I'm not thinking even a second to sell it. I just bought it, 2 years ago, but it's question of price. So that painting paid 25, 26% of the whole house and everything.
Oh my God, what a story. That is unbelievable. So I'm curious, Marie-Louise, for you, when you talk about your sort of vision, you've now been able to really kind of breathe a new vision for Il Pellicano, certainly Mezzatorre. I mean, you put in, for many people, you put Ischia on the map. It was not a place that was the sort of a lot of, certainly Americans, but many other people thought of. They would go to Capri, but they wouldn't go to Ischia.
Yeah.
And-
This gives me great satisfaction, I think, because we worked hard, and it was great to see, the local communities really happy, and it's such a wonderful island. I mean, it's so not obvious. It's so magnificent. And again, I think that's what people kind of look for, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you look ahead when you think about Pellicano hotels? What are you thinking for the future? Would you do more projects?
Oh, absolutely. Big plans to do more projects. We've got something in the pipeline already and more to come. So, the plan is to expand the group and, never losing the identity, the DNA, right? Which is where it all started to, and the vision and creating unique properties, not a bunch of, all the same, really unique properties, but have the same kind of values. And so we've got a lot of exciting places. You will be very happy to know.
Good. Oh, I'm excited. And I'm assuming you're going to stay in Italy at the moment.
We're going to only stay in Italy. The whole project is to develop a group of real Italian excellence around this magnificent country that has so much to offer.
It certainly does. Okay, so will you talk a little bit about ISSIMO?
Yes. So ISSIMO is the kind of digital extension of the hotel group, because it was kind of you do things out of a bit necessity, right? Like they come out of something that you feel you need to be doing. So I take care of the shop at the hotel, and I've been doing the buying for many years, and all the collaborations and all the merchandise, which we've been doing since, for a while. And we wanted to put a place to put everything together, and also talk about Italy and the excellence that is Italy and the uniqueness that is Italy, because it has so many different areas of excellence, from food to travel, the culture, architecture, design, fashion, you name it. Like the quality is really, really, really extra high. And I think not many countries have everything, right? So, such a vast array of high quality. And so it was kind of putting the two things together, a place where we could, talk about the group and Italy also during the winter when we're shut, and also buy all these, products and different collaborations. So ISSIMO was really, how can we extend online? How can we have a digital footprint, which is really important to have in this day and age, and not just be a hotel. And so the idea was to kind of extend the experience, which you clearly can't extend the hotel experience in sé per se, but you can talk about the country. We can make you dream. We can make you buy into the dream. We can make you read. We can make you discover. And so that's what ISSIMO is really. It's half, I would say, an e-commerce, half a editorial platform, and we go into the different areas of excellence, which is design, food, travel, with all the different names, because ISSIMO is the superlative Italians put on anything that's great. So it's buonissimo, bellissimo, and so ISSIMO was like the suffix. And so we have bellissimo, which is design, chicissimo, which is fashion, buonissimo, which is food, and so on and so forth. And so, we always launch collaborations or interviews with Italian excellence. It's about quality, right? In people, places, and things. And that's the kind of the motto, the underlying motto there, is, which is obviously the same as the Pellicano. So it's really the digital extension of the hotel group.
That's fantastic. And will you talk a little bit about some of the collaborations? Because you mentioned that. I'm curious about if there have been some that were particularly surprising or satisfying for you to do.
Well, I think, that was a really interesting thing. I think I was talking to someone yesterday about how the fact the hotel world was kind of closed before, right? It was a great hotel, but there was no interaction with the outside kind of world in some way. And so I think bringing in fashion or photography or culture was something that wasn't really done, at least when I started. And so I think when we started doing all these collaborations, they were a bit of a novelty. Like hotel groups were not doing collaborations. And we, did collaborations with digital retailers like Matches or Birkenstocks, and, really mixed collaborations. And so we have a lot. The biggest hit, the whole Matches project was really an interesting project, because it's the first time that there was a hotel that something really with a digital company, and it was retail. So that was really interesting, and I think it had a massive impact on both of us in some way, right? On them and on us. And then we launched that same year Birkenstock, which was, again, a bit out of necessity. I'm a big Birkenstock wearer, and I'm always at the hotels, and there were never elevated versions of Birkenstock, and I wanted to be able to stay at night. I go in the morning, come out, I don't know when I come out, so I wanted a more elevated version of a Birkenstock, and that's how that came about, and that was a real success. And then we've done things with APC, we have done things with Dr. Scholl's, again, another shoe that is made in Italy. And, and it's very much in the Italian imagination, is these Dr. Scholl's, where everyone has a story with Scholl's. Oh, I remember my grandfather used to chase me, with that shoe. Or, oh, I remember the fisherman in Naples port. Like, everyone has something to say about a Dr. Scholl. And the same thing went there. We kind of elevated it. And then we also want to discover, we've done big collaborations, and we've also done smaller projects, which is about really uncovering, right, excellence. And so, there's a bathing suit brand that we work with called Lido Lido from Venice, and we did two bathing suits inspired by our cocktails, so the Negroni and the spritz, and then we try and always have a take which is a fun take, something that puts your smile on your face. So we do a bit of mix of big collaborations, big brands, and we really enjoy doing things with the smaller brands, because it gives we could be a platform for you to discover something, right? So we don't tend to not do obvious. We don't want to do obvious. We don't want to be obvious, and we don't want to give obvious. So in the hotels, all our locations are not obvious. If you think about it, I mean, Portercole, La Dispoli, and Ischia. I mean, Ischia now is really popular, but it was not. And the same with ISSIMO. We want you to discover something, because I think that's what travel is about, really. It's about discovering and not getting everything that you know already. And now we're launching our own sauces, pasta sauces. And so it's really fun, because it can go from shoes to sauces to bikinis, and just finding the excellence in the thought and in the product.
And that makes me wonder about how you would define Italian excellence, because it is very different. I mean, I'm lucky to get to do trips to Italy and many other countries, but there is something unique about artisanship in Italy, and a perspective. And to me, a lot of it has to do with an Italian perspective about a quality of life.
Absolutely.
But I'd be curious to hear your definition of what is Italian excellence.
We're very spoiled. So we, if you're an aesthete or not, or a foodie or not, or we Italians, we've grown up in such abundance of beauty and of quality. And it's not the one-off thing that you do once a week. Like on a daily basis, you are exposed to beauty and quality. So I think it's really we're trained, our eye is trained, our palate is trained. Like it's just what we breathe every day. And so I think quality is quite easy to find, right? Like we're surrounded by it. And there's, it's also a different pace of life, I think, that makes, the artisan take days to do things, and it's not industrialized, and there's a lot. It is about the quality of life, again, because it's slower. It's slower, and it's I think we have a really high bar to start with. So it's hard to go back.
Yeah. And so I'm curious for people. I've been lucky enough to stay at Il Pellicano and La Posta Vecchia, so I know what the experience can be there. But for people who have not stayed, can you describe sort of a perfect day and what you hope for them to get out of the experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think the perfect day starts with fabulous sunrise. I'm a big sunriser person, and I think there's something so beautiful about seeing the start of the day. And there's an incredible sunrise at the Pellicano for sunrise lovers. There's a fabulous buffet breakfast with the most incredible cheeses. Everything, there's a lot of love in everything, right? So even on the breakfast, you can see that the chef went out and he found the best produce. He found the best cheese. There's the best prosciutto. There's love. So when there's love into something, you feel it. You get it. It's energy. I think there's this incredible energy at the Pellicano as well, which is just innate into the place. You go into this kind of world where time is, it's kind of a time capsule, but not in the past, in a very strong present. There's a very interesting group of people. I think it's quite self-selective, the people who come and love it. And people never really leave. So you go down to the beach and you spend the day at the beach, and it's quite quiet, I would say. It's not a place that you go, to party. But then there's nights that, especially when I'm at the bar a lot at night, and I always meet a lot of clients, and it's really magical. There's something magical and very natural, and it's genuine and not fussy. There's nothing fussy about Pellicano or the Posta or Ischia. It's really, I mean, I think the word authentic is so overused, but nothing screams and shouts. It's not, no one needs to prove anything. No one needs to show you how wealthy or how fabulous or how successful they are. Everyone just is. And I think, you breathe a very special air. And then obviously Mother Nature did her job, and it's incredible setting.
Yeah, I have to say, as an outsider, and it's amusing to me that, Roberto, you can remember when Italians were limited at Il Pellicano, because it's so funny to me that you wouldn't want the place in a way filled with Italians, because in all of the places, what I feel is, going to your time capsule, Marie-Louise, it's a sense of la dolce vita. And that's something like, for an outsider, it's the beauty of a slow quality of life in Italy that is about excellence and beauty and warmth. And, you know, as you said, sort of the love, and you get that feeling in the properties. They're different, but it's still this, you know, sense of a spell of la dolce vita cast upon you.
Also, when places have a point of view, right? I mean, look at all the family-run hotels, you know, who started, at least, that there's a vision, right? I think it's about the vision. And that's what makes a place unique. But again, it's like a person, right? A person, if they have their character, if they have their vision, way of thinking, and identity, it's unique.
So I want to switch a bit and just ask you, I know you spent part of the time in Rome, and I'm curious about your favorite aspects of living there.
Well, it's beautiful. I mean, it's really like a constant, like, oh, ooh, ah moment. I think, you know, I travel a lot, so it's good, because I think you need the mix in Rome a bit, at least I do. But, you know, it's good to slow down. But, you know, our office feels like a New York office more than a Rome office. We're always doing stuff, but there's always lots of ideas. We've got lots of energy and lots of stuff to do. You know, it's very inspiring to live here.
That's wonderful. Well, thank both of you so much for sharing the history and also the future of Pellicano and all of your properties, because, you know, your properties are very, very special. And I am so grateful that you are continuing to focus on what is truly Italian and has a deep perspective, because there are too many places in the world that are the same.
Agree.
And that's not what we're looking for.
No, I couldn't agree more. As I said, I think it's really about respecting, in this case, the founder's vision, right? So I'm so lucky to have grown up with a father who's taught me so much and with such a strong vision. And so the idea is to continue that.
And Roberto, I would love to hear your favorite part of working with your daughter.
Just her presence is enriching.
Well, I'm about to start crying. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Well, thank you both. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks to you so much.
It was such a pleasure having both Marie-Louise and Roberto join me today for another episode of Passport to Everywhere. To share their serendipity-filled story and to learn about the evolution of the Pellicano hotels, you can check out more on their website, pellicanohotels.com, or by reaching out to your Indagare trip designer. To stay up to date with Marie-Louise and her adventures, follow her on Instagram at Marie-Louise Sciò. That's SCIO. Coming up next is today's ISSIMO-inspired Indagare Insight.
Here are this week's Indagare Insights.
Now that we're all dreaming of Italy and its unique creative flair, it only seems logical for today's Indagare Insight to dive deeper into some of Marie-Louise's favorite Italian artisans by highlighting some of the mixed collaborations from her curated line, ISSIMO. As mentioned in our conversation today, ISSIMO is both an editorial platform and an online shopping bazaar, featuring a selection of high-quality Italian products, ranging from fashion and beauty to hotel souvenirs, home decor, and food. As Marie-Louise said, the name is derived from the Italian superlative that is placed at the end of adjectives to elevate the entire word. And this is exactly what ISSIMO strives to do: share elevated collections showcasing Italian artisanship, design, creativity, and excellence. We'll start with her collaboration with the renowned Italian homeware designer Lisa Corti, whose iconic stripes and spiral designs, which feature on quilts, table covers, pillows, placemats, and more, are inspired by the vibrant bougainvillea flowers all over Il Pellicano. These pieces will have you dreaming of lunch on the Mediterranean, and they serve as beautiful additions to any dining area in need of an Italian touch. Another ISSIMO collaboration I love is slightly more niche than homeware, but that's why it's kind of a special touch. The acclaimed Italian playing card brand Modiano designed a deck of cards showcasing Il Pellicano's signature yellow stripes, offering a fun and lively twist to the classic Neapolitan deck. And for travelers, I think it's always a good idea to bring a deck of cards on any trip They're easy to pack and provide hours of entertainment. In the fashion realm, ISSIMO worked with Italian designer Loretto Caponi to create a capsule collection featuring Loretta's signature feminine flair. Together, she and Marie-Louise put a beautiful spin on summer separates. I particularly love the caftan in the prickly cactus print. Another fashion collaboration that's perfect for warm days is ISSIMO's collab with Venice's Lido, which you heard Marie-Louise mention today. 2 of the bathing suits were inspired by famous Italian cocktails, the Negroni and the Aperol Spritz. And finally, for accessories, ISSIMO's collaboration with Percosi Papi offers gorgeous jewelry made using quartz, pearls, and garnets. They're essentially wearable works of art. There's even a pair of pelican earrings, symbolizing love, and of course, Hotel Il Pellicano. With that, I hope you enjoyed this glimpse into ISSIMO, and that you're as excited as I am about Marie-Louise's mission to spread the culture and craftsmanship of Italy across the globe. If you'd like to check out all that ISSIMO has to offer, head to issimoissimo.com or follow along on Instagram at ISSIMO, that's ISSIMO. There's something for everyone, whether you're looking for yourself or wanting to give the perfect La Dolce Vita inspired gift. And for more ideas and articles, be sure to check out ISSIMO's online journals, highlighting traditional recipes, shopping features, insider knowledge, wellness and beauty insights, gift guides, and more. Thanks so much for listening. If this episode has inspired you to take an Italian vacation, head to our website, indagare.com, for in-depth destination guides and insider tips for exploring the country, or reach out to your Indagare trip designer to start planning. Coming up on Passport to Everywhere, I'll be joined by award-winning Chilean author Francisca Mattioli to talk through the golden age of travel, and fashion designer Trina Turk on how travel fuels her design process, as does the constant California dream. And John Hardy, the famous jeweler, on finding inspiration and innovation in Bali. In the meantime, we'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode, so don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for joining us at Passport to Everywhere.
We hope you'll join the journey and subscribe. For more travel inspiration, visit indagare.com, INDAGARE. This has been Passport to Everywhere.